You are listening to Becoming Wildly Resilient, brought to you by University of Kentucky Human Resources Health and Wellness. Together, we will discover how we can thrive at work, home, and beyond. Hello, everyone. I'm Amy Rodquist-Kodet, health coach with the University of Kentucky Health and Wellness Program. Welcome back to Becoming Wildly Resilient Practices, where we'll explore research-based tools and tips to help us thrive in the areas of life that matter most. This month, we're turning our attention to one of the most pervasive and often overlooked barriers to well-being: mental health stigma. As psychologist and self-compassion researcher Kristen Neff reminds us, many of us don't just suffer from emotional pain. We suffer because we believe we shouldn't be in pain. We might feel ashamed when we're anxious, exhausted, or feeling overwhelmed. And then we tell ourselves we're weak because we struggle, or that we're broken because we're not handling it better, or we should just get over it already. But the truth is, struggle is a part of being human. It's not a personal failure. It's a call for more compassion. Stigma doesn't only exist in systems and in policies. It shows up in the subtle messages we send each other every day. Anne and Sebastian talked about this in the podcast earlier this month. It shows up in our silence, in our assumptions, and in the stories we've inherited about what it means to be strong or worthy. In today's episode, we'll explore how stigma shows up in 3 key places: in our inner dialogue with ourself and that good old inner critic, in our relationships with others that are in the midst of struggle, and in our communities and out in the world at large. We'll find some research-based practices for responding, not with judgment or avoidance, but with courage, curiosity, and compassion. Each of these tools invite us to push back on the false idea that mental health challenges make us less. In truth, they're part of what connects us to one another in the most human way. Because resilience isn't about pretending we're fine, let's just fake it till we make it. It's about creating a world where it's safe to be real. Let's start with ourselves. Real tangible ideas about how to decrease the volume of our inner critic. I don't know about yours, but mine is constantly yammering in my brain. Self-compassion researcher Germer suggests when we meet our struggles with self-kindness instead of self-judgment, we build emotional resilience. We reduce shame. And in fact, dozens of studies show that self-compassion lowers anxiety and depression and helps us feel more connected to our common humanity. How does this actually work? I always want to know. The first step is recognizing the inner critic voice and that it's separate from who we are at our core. Next time you find yourself in a less than healthy conversation in your own brain, ask yourself, what am I saying to myself right now? Notice the critical messages. They're going to look different for all of us, but my guess is we each have our own usual suspects. Mine sometimes says, you should be over this. Why is this taking so long? What's wrong with you? Everyone else is doing fine. Just deal with it. Come on. This is never going to work. You suck. These are some of the ones that go through my brain. How about you? Name that voice. Give it a nickname. I know this sounds a little bit off the wall, but if you can name that critical voice and put it into some sort of character form, call it the perfectionist or the drill sergeant, this helps you see it as a part of you, not you at your core. The third step is to offer kindness, which I know feels wildly counterintuitive when your inner critic is yapping at you in mean ways. But speak to yourself the way you'd talk to a dear friend. You might try something like, I know you're trying to help, but I don't need this criticism right now. What I need is kindness. Or honoring your inner critic, this idea of it's okay to feel this way. Struggling doesn't mean I'm broken. It means I'm human. Bonus tip, if you can gently put your hand over your heart, and as you say these words, offer yourself this small gesture of kindness and connection. It offers your nervous system some instant calm and reminds you that you're not alone in this. Try it next time your inner critic is taking you down a shame spiral. But after we care for ourselves, how can we show up for someone who's struggling? When it comes to supporting others with mental health challenges, the research is remarkably consistent. Compassionate presence. It matters more than the perfect words or putting together a script you can pull out right when you need it. Offering acceptance instead of advice helps people feel seen, not judged. Dr. Adam Grant notes the best support doesn't come from fixing problems. It comes from creating psychological safety. We don't need to be experts. We don't need to be psychologists in order to be helpful. We just need to be human. Here are a few ideas on how to show up for someone who's in the midst of struggle. See if you can be present without fixing. People don't always need solutions. Often they just need space not to feel alone. You can say something simple like, you don't have to figure this out by yourself, or it makes so much sense you're feeling this way. Another idea might be to ask what support looks like, because support is most helpful when it's co-created. Clarifying what's needed builds trust, and probably most importantly, avoids assumptions. Oftentimes we do what we would like to have done in that situation, but what you want or what you might find helpful could be totally different than what the person who's in the midst of struggle is wanting and needing. My favorite question I ask to my health coaching clients or my teenager is, would it be more helpful if I just listened, or do you want to brainstorm some options together? It's so easy to jump into fixing and advice giving because it makes us feel like we are doing something. It helps us to feel better in the midst of discomfort when another person is experiencing a lot of struggle and suffering. But stop and ask them what they need. This honors their autonomy while also offering care. Another way to show up is to normalize and affirm. Stigma thrives in silence and isolation, but affirmation can restore dignity. You could say something like, you matter to me, just as you are. Don't wait for a crisis. Sometimes the most powerful support just comes from checking in early. If you notice someone withdrawing or sounding off, reach out. You don't have to have a reason. You can just say, hey, you crossed my mind today. How are you? How's your heart? Been thinking about you. For shifting social narratives in the world at large, I know, that's a big one. We know social stigma around mental health isn't just a barrier to care. It drives suffering. Research by Patrick Corrigan and others consistently find stigma leads people to hide their challenges and delay treatment and isolate themselves. But the antidote isn't silence or pretending you don't notice. It's connection. It's the courage to speak up, especially in everyday moments. Responding with compassion to others' pain creates the conditions for healing for us and for them. How do we do that? We can speak up without shaming. You don't need to be a mental health expert to interrupt stigma. You can just grab some courage and the willingness to say, hey, there's a better story we could tell here. That stereotype makes it harder for people to get help. If you are in a work context or a school context, you could boldly say, we talk a lot about performance, but we rarely talk about mental load and what it takes to sustain it. Let's normalize both. You can share your humanity. One of the most powerful disruptors of social stigma is contact. Real people sharing real stories. Normalizing vulnerability is the whole point. You could say, hey, I've had so many times where I have felt completely underwater, and what helped me was knowing I wasn't alone. This isn't oversharing. It's rehumanizing. Lastly, we can model curiosity and compassion in public spaces. We change culture by what we model, not just what we say. That includes being the person who listens without judgment, who asks, what would support look like for you? Who lifts up stories that matter. Even online, on your social media account, you could post, hey, it's Social Health Awareness Month. If you're struggling, I see you. You're not alone. Simple acts like this can create unexpected openings. Changing these norms takes more than data. It takes heart. Evidence is most persuasive when it's personal. You don't have to have the perfect words. Just be willing to question the shameful narrative. To stand with, not against. That's how stigma breaks. One conversation at a time. Mental health stigma isn't something that's out there. It lives in our thoughts, in our relationships, in our culture. But the good news is we can shift it. One act of compassion, one courageous conversation, one small reframe at a time. Whether you're softening your inner critic, showing up for someone else, or speaking out in the face of stigma, you're helping build a world where it's safe to struggle and safe to heal. Thanks for listening and practicing together, because practice makes possible. And that's how we become more wildly resilient. So until next time, keep showing up and keep practicing. Thank you for listening to Becoming Wildly Resilient. This podcast is brought to you by University of Kentucky Human Resources Health and Wellness. We offer a wide range of online and in-person services to support the well-being of UK employees, retirees, and their spouses. You can find experts in mental health, personal resilience, nutrition, and physical activity. We're ready to meet you where you are and address your unique needs. To learn more about the work-life and well-being services offered by UK Human Resources, visit hr.uky.edu/wellbeing. You can also connect with us on social media and YouTube by searching @UKY Wellness or by email at healthandwellness@uky.edu.